For more on the situation in Greece and what the impact is going to be, Paolo Mauro from the Peterson Institute of International Economics joins us here on set. We heard from Owen, we heard from Jack. That lays out sort of the framework of where we stand today. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel better about the situation now?
Well, the situation is such that a deal is still urgently needed. It's anybody's guess exactly how much longer this can continue. Of course, we have a big payment coming up next week, I believe on Tuesday, for 800 million. I think that at this point, the Greek authorities are beginning to look for cash wherever they can. And to put things in perspective, there are 30 billion of payments that are coming up during the remainder of the year. So a deal is absolutely needed at this point.
I have my own personal thoughts about this, which I'm going to refrain from saying. But what if they don't make the $800 million payment? Let's just say they somehow don't make the payment. Why should the rest of us investors care?
I think that's really hypothetical. I really believe that a deal will be reached and that there will be certainly no exit.
But what I'm saying is, what's the urgency? Let's say they don't get the money.
Well, in that hypothetical situation, I think there would be a little bit of time that the system would provide. And the system is in a situation where it can be withstood much more easily than it would have been several months ago. The European economy is in a much better shape. We have quantitative easing. We have very abundant liquidity. Most of the debt is vis-à-vis the European creditors. It's vis-à-vis the IMF. So it really is more of a negotiation between the Greeks and the official creditors at this time.
The creditors, the IMF, they have come out and said earlier this week that they insinuated, I should say, that they want the other creditors to potentially take a haircut. What does that mean?
I didn't hear that particular statement. I think right now everybody's working towards an agreement that would unlock the completion of the review. The absolute formal deadline is the end of June. From the IMF, potentially there could be 4.5 billion that come. From the Europeans, there would be about 2 billion plus some other amounts that could be released. I think that June is a month of heavy payments, so presumably everybody is under pressure to come to an agreement much before that.
What does Europe want? What do the creditors ultimately want? Greece obviously can't pay back the money immediately. Even if they can scrounge up as much money as they can from the mattress, they're still going to fall short. And even if they do make the payment, then there's always the next payment to worry about. Ultimately, what does Europe want to have happen?
You know, when I was driving towards the studio, I just drove in front of the Greek embassy, and I was struck by the fact that there was a Greek flag and the European flag, the European Union flag. And I think that's sort of helping me to put things in context. I think everybody wants Greece to succeed. There was a very short statement this afternoon.
Even Germany.
I think everybody wants Greece to succeed. There was a joint statement just this afternoon by the EU, the IMF, and the ECB saying that what they want is growth and employment creation to return. And I think that's a very genuine, important thing that we should keep in mind. I think, in fact, over the past few months, I have a feeling that all this uncertainty has been a drag on the performance of the Greek economy. The important thing to keep in mind is that there is a good possible outturn where they come to an agreement and Greece starts to participate in the European recovery.
But to be fair, they kind of did prior to the election, right? I mean, they were participating. Things were certainly, the worst was certainly behind them. What do you think Greece wants at this point from the EU? What are they asking for from the EU in these negotiations?
Well, I think that there's two things. One is they want to alter a little bit the types of policies, so it's a bit of a different economic philosophy. But also they want more debt relief, and I think that's what is ultimately being negotiated. How much debt relief is Greece going to obtain, and when is that going to happen? I think that ultimately there will be more debt relief in time. The question is, do they get it up front, or do they have to wait until they demonstrate that they can deliver the policies?
You don't subscribe to any of this Greek exit, Greek Euro exit. You don't subscribe to any of that talk?
I don't, simply because hypothetically, if Greece were to exit the Eurozone, they would still owe a lot of money to the same creditors. So that would not really change the relationship, and they would be locked into this type of negotiation over the next years. I think ultimately the way that they're going to come out of this is to restore growth and to have a reasonable primary fiscal surplus that allows them gradually to bring the debt down. But remember, if they come to an agreement, if the two sides come to an agreement, then interest rates are pretty low.
Should the U.S. markets or the Asian markets, for that matter, worry about what's happening in Greece, or just let Europe worry about them?
I think at this point there are many other things that one has to worry about in the global economy that may be more significant. Hypothetically, if there were a major change in the situation, then of course, who knows what could happen. But my expectation is, first, that there will be an agreement, and second, that even in the hypothetical when there is no agreement, I think the system is such that it wouldn't lead to as much instability as it would have done in a much worse context several years ago.
An optimistic Paolo Mauro. Good to see you again. Thank you.